Hey,
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
great to be here. How's everyone
Yeah.
doing out there? My name's Shanda. I'm the field trainer and product specialist on the West Coast, also producer, live artist. We have
Yeah,
Evan
and
here.
I'm Evan. I'm a field trainer, product specialist for the Central U.S., based out of Chicago, and a producer and musician myself as well.
So yeah, this is awesome to be here, Evan. So just give people some context of what we're doing. Evan and I, we make a lot of music. He was sharing with me one of the songs that he's been working on and that he actually released today, right? It's out?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Got you. But he was telling me his flow using the circuit rhythm, how he then moved it into the DAW and just to complete it. And I was like, I think it would be a cool thing to share, like how to break the loop, right? Because that's the thing, like getting out of that loop mode and progressing to finalize a track.
Yeah, absolutely. Shauna came up with this idea. I sent her a track that I made, and I made it primarily on the circuit rhythm. And we were chit-chatting, and, there's a lot of content out there about the circuits and how to use them for jamming and all that. But one thing we wanted to see that we didn't see is how to use the circuits in a final product, how to use it as a tool to get from A to B, to get from a jam to something that you would actually publish on a streaming service, Bandcamp, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of what we're going to do today. I'm going to go through a song that I made on the circuit rhythm, what I did exactly to polish it up, how I recorded it, and how I finished the track that started on the circuit rhythm.
It's awesome. All right. So before we get into all the meat of everything, why don't you can you give us a little 30-second teaser of the final? And just, yeah, while you're queuing that up, welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. This is awesome. Kansas, Mexico, France. Who did I miss? Australia.
All right.
Keep it
All
coming.
over.
And also, I want to say one other thing. If you have questions, please be sure, drop them in the chat. I'll get them answered. As Evan is taking us through everything, I'll make sure I'll get your questions up there. So just get them in the chat. Cool. All right. So Evan, yeah, share us a teaser.
Will do. All right. So I'm going to play 30 seconds from the final product. Here we go. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I had the circuit going. Here we go. All right. Now, 30 seconds from the final product. All right. That's the teaser.
So good. So good. So vibey. All
Thank
right.
you.
All right. So let's get into it. So
Yeah. Let's
first,
do it.
what's up? Circuit, right?
Yeah, so I started this song on the circuit rhythm. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the circuit rhythm. And I'll play, 30 seconds from the circuit rhythm itself. So everything you're about to hear is coming 100% out of the circuit rhythm. And you'll notice it sounds exactly like the final product. Right. So I did a couple things to polish this song, to its final state. But as you can hear, the majority of the sound design and the music is coming straight from the circuit rhythm. And before I get into exactly how I created this song. It's worth noting that this unit right here, the one that I'm using, is the circuit rhythm. Novation also makes the circuit tracks, which looks exactly like this, except it has the black front panel. They're very similar, but they're also very different in a couple ways. The circuit rhythm, which is the one I have right here, is a sampler. So I can hook an audio source directly to the circuit rhythm and record audio into it, sample, chop things up, play samples chromatically. Whereas the circuit tracks, which is its brother, has two built-in synthesizer engines. It has two extra MIDI tracks, et cetera, et cetera. They're both great units, but for this song, I decided to opt for the circuit rhythm because this is a sample-heavy song. And I found a bunch of samples off of splice.com. So I just picked and chose a bunch of samples that I liked, and I went ahead and I put them on an SD card. There's a SD card slot in the back. And then I started jamming. I just started making stuff. And so quick walkthrough of what I have going on here on the circuit rhythm. Track 1, kick drum. Track 2, I have a clap.
Nice.
Track 3, I have a percussion loop. Track 4 is that main sample. That's kind of the main motif throughout the song.
So dreamy.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And one thing I did do to the sample is it's pitched up, and the original sample sounds like this. But it's pitched up because I went ahead and I used the beat match functionality of the circuit rhythm, so you can actually tempo stretch your samples to the tempo of your circuit rhythm. So this project is at 126. That original sample was not at 126. So when I beat matched it, it pitched it up. It fit that sample into the amount of time that it would take for one bar of 126 to go through. And so from there, I figured out that with the pitched up sample, that it is in B minor. I believe the key is in B minor. So knowing that, I could write melodies around that main sample. So track 5 is just a bass one shot, a sample I found off a splice. And I played that chromatically into the circuit. And I did the same. Oh, I'm sorry, Shanda.
Oh, no, I was going to say the sample sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice bass sample.
Yeah, lots of fun stuff. And I did the same thing for track 6. I found a little, plucky synth, and knowing that I was in B minor, I could play a melody around that. And then track 7 is another clap, and then track 8 are my hi-hats. And so basically how the circuit rhythm and the circuit tracks work is this top half here is where you put notes, in your sequence. So this is our kick drum. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the bottom 2 rows is where you pick your sample. And then you have 8 tracks to play with. And the final, product of what I did with all these different samples is what you hear right now.
So, question, I noticed like the bass line is longer than just the 16 steps. So can you maybe explain how you
Yeah, totally.
how you created that? Yeah. Were you using like the patterns and all that good stuff?
Great question. So, the by default, we have 16 steps because there's 16 pads here. So when you hit play, it's going to, play 16 steps. But the circuit rhythm and the circuit tracks have this button right here, 1 through 16, 17 through 32 is what it says. And that essentially doubles your pattern length. And the sun is coming out, so...
I was just going to say, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was like, you finally got a little sunshine over there.
We're having some weather here in Chicago. It's a beautiful day, and then it rained, and now it's not raining, so bear with me. Yeah, so you can essentially double your per pattern length from 16 steps to 32 steps. So that's what you're hearing. Instead of just the bass line repeating the same one bar pattern over and over, I doubled it and then made a second variation on that 17 through 32 pattern length. So that's what's going on there, and I do that in a couple ways. I do that on the kick drum as well. So just having that extra 16 steps really expands what you can do with your patterns, because of course you have 8 patterns per track, and on the original circuit each pattern was 16 steps, but now on the circuit rhythm and the circuit tracks, each pattern can be 32 steps. And of course how long that will depend on your sync rate. So by default it's 16 steps, so every step is a 16th note in a bar, yada yada yada. We won't get too in depth on how you would program and how you would sequence using a circuit rhythm. We do have a lot of great content out there on the Novation channel if you want to get dig into the weeds on how to actually program this. But the idea today is to take what we've done here on the circuit rhythm and finish it into a final product.
Nice. So this is like but utilizing that just so people understand, like that's like one more step to breaking that loop, right? Like by you extending your bass line pattern and all that stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, totally. It's you can come up with a one bar loop that sounds really good, but kind of just like what you're saying, Shanda, breaking that loop and adding variation, so it's not just the same 30-second loop going over and over and over again. How would you do that? One way you could do is you could double the pattern length and create variation. Another thing that I did in this song is I took advantage of something that we call scenes. So I'm in the mixer page now, and these these white pads that are lit up down here are different scenes. So what is a scene? A scene is comprised of the different patterns that you've chosen and the mute states of those patterns. So you can assign different patterns and mute states to a scene. And then you create a scene, hold shift, tap the pad, there's your scene. Now, in this song, I took it a step further because you can actually chain scenes together, essentially making scenes a sort of song mode. So on this first scene here, I have the intro. It's just a kick and a clap, and then here maybe I have a breakdown, and then I have all the elements coming in here. So I took advantage of scenes to arrange this song on the circuit.
Okay, so this is like the another step now where you're breaking the loop. You now have an actual song.
Totally, yeah. And let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Let's go to our hi-hats here on track 8. We'll go to our first pattern, and we're just hearing that. And then I can go to the second pattern of our hi-hats, and it's different. I incorporated another sample into that pattern. Where it gets cool is because we have these two different patterns and these variations of that sound, you can assign that to a scene. So it's mixing and matching your patterns with the mute states that breaks you out of that loop, that keeps you from repeating the same thing over and over. So that's something I like to do on the circuits, is create different variations of the patterns, mixing and matching, seeing what works well, and then assigning them to scenes to arrange a song.
Nice. Hey, I have a question. In terms of the sample flipping, just curiosity, there was a question in the chat. I'm just going to pop it up really quick. So how best to rely on probability tools? For this song, did you happen to use those, or what do you think?
That's a great question. For this song in particular, I didn't use any sort of probability. I was pretty certain of what I wanted and the samples I wanted to use and the rhythms that I wanted. But probability is a great thing if you're kind of just jamming out and you're starting out. A great thing you could do with probability is, and once again, I don't want this to turn into a straight up circuit demo, but if you put a step on every, put a note on every step, you could assign different probabilities per the step, and then you would get a different pattern every single time. That's one way to use probability. You can use it with melodies as well. But to answer your question, I did not use probability in this song because I was pretty certain of what I wanted.
Right. Yeah, no, I just wanted to put it up there, get the question answered. And for myself, even using probability, I like to assign it even on different per step, like how you were saying, because then it also gives that breaking the loop feel, right? Like you're turning a 16 step pattern, making it sound like maybe it's like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 bars. But okay, so getting back to the topic at hand. So you have your song, you have your scenes, and so what is your next step now? You've already created the song, you've assigned your scenes, you're using the mute states. What next?
That is a great question, and kind of the crux of this whole live stream is we finished the song in the circuit now. How do we improve on it? How do we make it even better? How do we finish it into a final product? And that's where the DAW comes into play.
Nice.
Yeah. So I went ahead and I did some pre-production work, and I will walk through exactly what I did. But essentially, all this audio here.
I'm going to interrupt you. Sorry, Evan.
Of course.
One thing, because this is a perfect place to answer this person's question. And just talk about how did you connect your circuit to Ableton?
Totally. So I have a USB cord into the circuit, so that's feeding it tempo data, MIDI data, all of that. And then I have a stereo output from the output of the circuit going into an audio interface. In this case, I'm using a Focusrite Claret, but any sort of audio interface would, you can use any audio interface to do this.
Cool.
So yeah, it's a USB, audio output, audio interface. That's all you need.
Thanks for clarifying that. Cool.
Yeah, so all this audio here is what it would look like when we're finished stemming out all of the audio from the circuit. And it looks like the sun is coming out again. So
I was just going to say, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's that time of day there where it's just going to kind of juggle. You're in Chicago, right? So it's like that late afternoon where the sun's just going to it's going to continue to move.
Yeah, it's a windy day too, so there's clouds and everything. So I will do the best I can to make this as visible as possible.
No worries. I see some people in the chat. I think a couple of them are from the Midwest, so I'm sure they're feeling the exact same and experiencing the exact same thing. So
right on. They understand. But yeah, so let me show you how I got this audio all here into the DAW. There's a couple things you want to be aware of when you're hooking up your circuit to your DAW. In this case, I'm using Ableton Live. The first thing you want to do is make sure that your tempos match. So I know that my tempo on my circuit is 126. So I also want to make sure my tempo in my DAW is also 126. Key. And then from there, I want to make sure that I also have my circuit MIDI synced. So I want to make sure that the tempo, they're speaking to each other, essentially. So when I hit play on my computer, it's also going to hit play on my circuit. And it'll depend on what DAW you're using, but in Ableton Live, it's just this MIDI window here. Make sure that you have the sync column checked. So now that we know that both the circuit and Ableton Live are going to play in time, we want to record the audio in. So I went ahead and I created these 8 audio tracks because there's 8 tracks on the circuit rhythm. So I know I want 8 tracks to record into. And then I made sure that I have the right input selected. In this case, I know that my circuit is coming in on inputs 3 and 4. And then I hit the arm record button, and I'm ready to record. Excuse me. But there's a technique that I used to make sure that I have all the different tracks stemmed separately. So it would be perfectly fine to just record the stereo output, everything summed together. That is absolutely one way you can work, but I knew that I wanted these different tracks, I wanted them recorded in separately so I could process that audio separately. So I could EQ the kick differently from the bass, compress things differently. So let me show you a trick. There's, right now I'm in, using scenes for my arrangement. I have my mute states on, and just to clarify on what a mute state is, it's hard to tell with the sun kind of being a pain in the butt right now, but some of these pads are lit up, some of them are not, and that is telling me this track is on, this track is playing. So a mute state is telling the circuit, yes, play this audio, don't play this audio. It's exactly what it sounds like. It is a state of muting. It is a mute state. So assigning those mute states to the scenes, I've arranged the song. Now to get the individual audio into the DAW while keeping the mute states, because one way you could do it is just go one by one, have everything muted except for the track that you want to play. But I know that I want this arrangement. So what you have to do is make sure in the mixer that you turn everything down. It's as simple as that. So turn everything down except for the track that you want to record, which in this case is track 1, which is my kick drum. So everything is down in the mixer. The mute states are still active, but we're not going to hear it in this arrangement. And if that doesn't make sense, let me show you exactly what I mean by that. So I'm going to go ahead and record in track 1 right now. Just hit the record button. Apologies, I have a track soloed. So let's try that again.
Cool, so you're arming the track.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So here we go. Now we're just recording that first track in our arrangement. And we can see on the circuit, and I know that, it's kind of blown out right now, but it's going to play through this entire arrangement. So that way, every time I go to record one of these tracks, I know I'm going to get the same result every time. It's going to be the same length. It's going to be exactly how I arranged it on the circuit. And the process is just going through this for every track. And you can take advantage of this. So let me show you a couple ways you could take advantage of this process. Let's go to track 2. So same thing, same idea for track 2. We're going to go ahead, turn down track 1, turn up track 2, hit record. So you're recording this in manually, and if you have any sort of external effects pedals, anything like that, this is a good opportunity to get creative with that kind of thing. If you don't have any external pedals, it is also really cool to take advantage of the grid effects on the circuit rhythm.
Nice. So you're recording, it's grabbing all that effect that you're adding onto that audio.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be cool because we can take, the effects that we recorded in. Now it exists in audio form. We can use that later when we go to arrange the final product. We can use these little bits of audio to create variations and make it sound cooler. So definitely take advantage of the grid effects. If you have external pedals, take advantage of it because we're going to record in 8 of these things, and this is a great opportunity to get creative. So I won't go through all 8 of these tracks and record the whole thing in because I went ahead and I already did that for time's sake. This is what the final product would look like. We have all 8 of our tracks from the circuit now existing in Ableton Live.
And just to reiterate, I know you said it, but just to really just touch on the fact that, so by turning it down, you're able to get the exact same length of stem. So you don't have to worry about having one audio recording per channel shorter than the other. Everything just lines right up the way you have it in the circuit with the seat. So I just wanted to just kind of share that again, because it's a really smart way to record. So then you don't have to worry about, because you have it already synced over USB, you have the MIDI sync on. It's just a matter of now just recording each one, and they will all line up perfectly.
Yes,
Nice.
that's exactly right. Because I got so used to the arrangement on the circuit rhythm that I wanted that exact audio to be represented in Ableton Live. So now we're in the DAW. We can,
All right, so
we
we're
can-
breaking the loop again. We've broken it, actually. So now you're done with the circuit. You're in Ableton Live now.
Yeah. So I can go ahead and turn off the circuit because now we're going to work in the DAW. Now that we have our audio from the circuit in Ableton Live, we can start to get creative with this audio. And this is where things get really fun. So there's a bunch of silence here. I'm going to go ahead and delete all that. And that was on purpose because I used the scene modes to keep my arrangement intact. So I do expect the silence to be here. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that out. So when I was making this song, I was listening to it and I decided that the arrangement that I made in the circuit rhythm wasn't exactly what I wanted. So it starts with the kick and the clap. But for this song, I decided I wanted the main sample, that sort of piano, Rhodes, whatever you want to call it, sample. This one,
The dreamy, vibey one.
the dreamy, vibey sample.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted that to be the first thing that the listener heard. So I went ahead and I did some rearrangement. I went ahead and I dragged that sample over, and I took the kick and the clap back. So that way when the song starts, it's, that's the first thing that you hear. And then from here, we can start building the song up. So, kick and clap come in here. I want to push the bass back a little further. And then I also want to make some variation here. And this is where you can get really creative in your DAW. A couple tricks, techniques that I used. Really simple one is just deleting audio, because now you're working in audio. You can delete audio, you can duplicate audio, like very easily. So before everything hits in this next section here, I deleted that kick, and then
It's like these extra flourishes little sprinkles that you start to do to your song, to the track.
yeah, exactly. It's like the sprinkles on top. It's the ear candy. It's the little details that, when combined all together, it adds that extra level of polish to your song. Because everything that I'm going to show you here right now, that we made that in the circuit. All this audio came from the circuit. Now we're just taking it to the next level. So taking a kick out, duplicating a kick, all that stuff are easy things that you can do. I like to make little drum fills, little fills before the next section starts. So I'm going to delete this kick here, and then I'm going to go down to this clap, and I have a reverb on one of my effects return channels, and I know that this last clap, I want it to ring out. I want it to go psh. So we're going to turn our automation lanes on. We're going to go to the mixer, return track A, and I'm simply just going to draw in a little automation right here. So that when this clap hits right here, it's going to send to that reverb channel and it's going to ring out. So let's hear what that sounds like.
Adds more
Right.
vibe.
Totally. So
Yeah.
instead of it, just being like this, we have a little extra flourish at the end of that phrase. Another thing that I did with the claps here is I like to use reverse claps to kind of lead into the clap. I think it adds a little bit of groove. So a quick trick that I used, we're just going to use the audio that we already have of the claps. I'm going to create a new audio track, and I'm just going to take a little snippet of this piece of audio, this clap. I'm going to drag it down to the new track. I'm going to reverse it. Hit R in Ableton Live to reverse it. I'm just going to drag it in front of that clap, and then I can move it over here a little bit. So this is another little detail that adds up in the end. So let's hear what that sounds like.
Very cool.
Yeah. Now, those are all little percussion flourishes that you can do to spice up your track. But I think the biggest thing that I did in the DAW to finish this song is I created what I call a part B. And that is this main sample here, this yellow sample, the vibey sample. Right now it's playing through the whole track. And that's going to get stale if it's the same thing over and over. It goes back to breaking the loop. So how do we break the loop with this sample? Working with what we already have. So let me show you kind of what I did to create a part B, a variation of what we're working with. So I created a new audio track, and when I wanted the part B to come in, I went ahead and I just dragged that audio down to our new track. And right now it's going to sound exactly the same because we haven't done anything different to this track. It's the same audio, just living on a different track. But there's a bunch of things that we can do in the DAW to spice this up and make it a lot different. And this is when you can start to have a lot of fun in your DAW, because it's a blessing and a curse to have so many different effects and things available to you. It's almost paralyzing. But now that I know I have the audio that I already want, I can start to have fun with the effects. So for the part B here, the first thing that I did is I knew I wanted the do-do-do-do-do, like that top melody line. I didn't want that to be so in your face. I kind of wanted it to be more in the background. So I just took a low pass filter and kind of drowned it out. So it's not as in your face. And then I wanted to add some saturation to that low pass sound. So I just took an overdrive plugin, and that's kind of intense, so we'll take it down. But there's some nice saturation in there, and this is all going to make sense in a second because I added a big reverb to this sound, and I made sure it was at 100% wet. Cool. So it's sounding significantly different now. And then I compressed the heck out of it. I just crushed it. But the keys.
Oh, go ahead. No, I was just going to say, but the cool thing is, so you're using the original stem and audio that you pulled from Circuit Rhythm. And we had somebody mention in the chat too, just talked about using pedals, and I know that you use pedals as well, but that's the beauty of this, right? Like you can plug your Circuit Rhythm in there, and whether you want to run it through some pedals or simply use the effects in any DAW that you're using. This is awesome. Yeah, definitely. This is where you get creative, and so there's no right or wrong way to do this. This is completely your creative decision. But the key sauce to this part B that I created, I used a plugin called
LFO tool by Xfer. I'm sure some of you have heard of it before. It's a classic plugin. And I used a preset, to be honest. I used the Transgate #1 preset. And this is what that original sample, the vibey sample, now sounds like this.
Nice switch up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we went, and if I just drag this audio back up to the original, channel, there it is. It's the same audio, just with different effects on it. So let's hear what that sounds like in context, going from part A to part B. And then right here,
Nice vibe, yeah.
Yeah.
Back into part A.
Yep. Yeah, so that's breaking the loop up. And I do want to show you another trick that I did. This hi-hat pattern down here. We have this open hi-hat pattern going right now. That plays throughout, a lot of the song, and it goes from the closed hi-hats to the open hi-hats. It's building energy, but as that open hi-hat pattern starts playing over and over again, it becomes fatiguing and it loses its sort of energy. So how would we add more energy to this loop that we have? Really cool trick that you can do is, same thing that we did with the part B up there. I'm going to drag that same audio loop to a new audio channel. And I know for what I want to do is I just want the open hi-hat. I don't want the closed hi-hat. I don't want this like that. I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all that out. But that's after I pitch everything up. So everything is being pitched up now.
Great, just to kind of give like another variation.
Totally, yeah. And we're gonna take it another step further after I delete out those little closed hi-hat hits.
While you're deleting that out, I just want to say again, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. And massive shout out to all of you for being here. Thank you so much. I see a lot of heavy circuit users in here, and even some new people that are just hearing about the circuit rhythm for the first time. So as you can see, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with this, whether live or production. So yeah.
Appreciate everybody being here, and give me your questions. I'm happy to walk through everything that I've done here. But let me show you this cool hi-hat trick that I did. And just to reiterate, we are working with the audio from the circuit. I'm not adding anything different. I'm using stock Ableton plugins right now. We're just getting creative with how we process that audio. So I pitched the hi-hats up. I deleted out that closed hi-hat just because I don't think it's important for this extra layer. And then, similar to the part B, I added effects to it. So I added, where'd you go? Added some overdrive, saturate the top end a little bit. And then I added another reverb. And the reason I did this, I added just like a small reverb. This reverb is going to add like a stereo image to the sound because it's a stereo reverb. So when this extra layer kicks in, it's going to kind of open up those hi-hats very subtly, but it's important. So let's hear what that sounds like. So it's a wider stereo image now, but it's kind of in your face. And I know that I wanted this to be a layer and not like its own thing. I wanted this to sweeten the hi-hats. So I took an auto filter and I high-passed it just so you get some sparkle on the top. So together, it sounds like this. little loud in the mix, so I would, go ahead and turn that down. And another thing that I would do when I'm arranging and finishing the song is do like a quick sort of mix of everything. So I have my kick, sitting at 6, my clap a little below 12, percussion's a little loud. We're not getting surgical here, but we're just balancing things out.
Important.
Very, very important, yeah. You could do that with EQ and compression, and we're kind of just tidying everything up that we made on the circuit. And
there's a question I just want to pop up. So any tips for long sounds and ambient?
I guess in what regards?
Yeah. I mean, so it's maybe a little open-ended, but in terms of, I don't know, maybe talk about effects. If you have these long sounds in your circuit rhythm, you've now tracked it in. But if you have a more specific, Ben, by all means, please drop it in the chat and I'll make sure it gets answered.
Yeah, if you have a more specific question on that, definitely can help answer that. But I guess I will say that everything that I'm doing here in Ableton Live applies for any genre of music. Right now we're just I make house music, so this is kind of the structure that I'm following. But these effects, like adding the trance gate and the reverb, you can do that with the audio that you have. If you made an ambient track in your circuit, the same techniques apply. And
you can even apply the reverb that's in the circuit as
right.
well.
And then put a reverb on top of that. Just wash it out. It's there's no right or wrong way to go about these things. I'm just showing you, like, personally what I did for this song. This is what I did. But feel free to apply any of these techniques to any sort of genre of music, and you never know what kind of results you might get.
Cool. So all right. So now we've broken the loop. We've recorded in the circuit rhythm into Ableton Live. You've now started the structure. So can you show us, like, just for the sake of time, let's see the project, your move to the final project.
Totally.
If you don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
And while you're opening that up, there is another question, and it's like, can you legato the samples through patterns? Have you tried that at all with...
On the circuit rhythm, no. But on the circuit tracks, if you're using the synth engines, you can use like portamento and glide and things like that.
Cool.
All right. So
this is the meat, the final?
Yeah, this is the final project. And we can see it looks like super similar to what we were just working with, but this is, hours of me cutting things out, adding things in, rearranging, and having fun with it. But the core audio is still all here. We have our kick and our claps. I did go ahead and I grouped everything together into a drum group so I could compress everything and glue it all together. We have our bass here, and then we have all this yellow stuff. This is our main sample. So this is, right? There's our dry sample. And I added a couple additional layers to add variety to the song. So we're not just playing the same loop over and over, but we're still using the same audio, right? So this first track here, this is just the dry audio coming out of the circuit. Of course, I did add some processing here, and that's usually the last thing you're going to do is kind of mix it. But in terms of like arranging the song and creating different parts, you don't have to worry about all this stuff down here yet. So I have my part A. I have a second part A, which is this thing here, which is the same sample but run through an external pedal effect. So that gave
as
me,
we were talking about before, like how you can run the audio straight in, because one of the watchers here had mentioned about using pedals versus effects.
Yeah,
Sorry.
totally.
Yeah.
No,
I got excited. But while I interrupted, I might as well continue with my interruption and just, I want to state something that we didn't state, but something that I think is really important is when you're using the circuit rhythm, it's rechargeable. Somebody mentioned, do you need a battery pack or anything like that? But, just charge it up and unplug it and you're good to go. You don't need an additional battery pack for it, which is great. You can throw it in your backpack. I know, Betty, you have a question about the fact that you're a drummer. I saw that you posted about that and that you wanted to sketch out your beats. This is a perfect opportunity to do that. Take that to your sofa, to outside, to a coffee shop with some headphones, whatever. Plug it in, start sketching out your beats. It's fully charged. You don't need that extra battery pack for it. It's already on there. And I know, Evan, you like to make beats right on that sofa.
Yeah, I was just about to say that this song was made right here.
Yeah. But sometimes, that's what it takes. You need something where you can just really get creative, like get away from the DAW for a little bit, get away, just be unplugged, and then do your thing, and then take it into the DAW to finish it. But sorry, I interrupted you, but so please continue sharing your
not
final
at all.
Track.
You didn't interrupt at all. That was great. And yeah, just to piggyback on that's usually how I write is like I said earlier, the DAW it's a blessing and a curse. You can do anything in it, and for me that can be overwhelming. So having something like the circuit, which has certain limitations and boundaries to be creative in, I'm way more productive on something like this because I can sit back there and start knocking stuff out, and then when I get something that I really like, I can go ahead and throw it into the DAW, which is exactly what this song is. So back to it. Part A, we have another part A that I ran through the external delay pedal, and then we have our part B here, which is that LFO tool transgate. And then I took it to another level and I added a layer underneath that, and still the same audio. We're using the same audio, just different effects. So this layer is living underneath that part B. And the key effect on this track is this spectral resonator, I think is what it's called. It's another stock Ableton plugin. And I just added that to the audio, and it completely changed what it sounded like, but it's keeping the same vibe of the original sample. So everything together sounds like this. So
nice vibe.
yeah, and it's all those techniques that I showed you in the other project is exactly what's going on here. Taking kicks out, taking claps out. You heard that long on the clap, sending it to a reverb channel. That's exactly what this is here, and it's just getting creative with the audio that you already have. So if you make a song on the circuit, half the battle, 70% of the battle is over. Like, you've created the song. And that's kind of why I'm working exclusively in arrangement view right now. Session view in Ableton Live is great, and I use it, but that's when I'm coming up with ideas. I already came up with the idea. I already have a song, and I made it on the rhythm. So I can just go ahead, go into arrangement view, and flesh it out.
Very nice. So the loop has been broken. The song is finished. This is awesome, Evan. Thanks so much for sharing your process and, from point A to Z, A to Z. This was great, and I hope that you out there, this inspires you. If you have questions, please drop them in the chat. Hopefully, we got all your other questions answered. And thanks a lot for being here. This has been great. But one thing, we can't be done yet. While we give people an opportunity to get their last minute questions in, let's play the whole track if you're cool. And then
yeah, absolutely.
But also before you do that, where do we find this? I know you said it's coming out tomorrow.
Yeah. So I write music as DJ Roommate. DJ Roommate is the artist name that I'm using. It's primarily lo-fi, chill, house music, things like the song that we made today. And so it's Instagram, all that stuff is DJ_roommate. And I will put a link in the chat for this song if you do want to listen to it on Spotify or pre-save it. I'll put a link so you can listen to it. So it'll be out tomorrow. I do have other music up on Spotify that is very circuit based. There's a song that I made called So Real that is like 100% circuit. I just took the stereo output into a compressor and did it that way. So if you do want to hear more, if you want to hear more circuit-based music, definitely give me a look. And I really appreciate you letting me rant at you for a little bit and let me share my process with you. I really do hope you guys took away some cool stuff, and I hope this was helpful for you. And,
we're getting a lot of love in the chat. Thank you, everyone, for being here again. We really appreciate it. We do want to do more of these. We both make a lot of music, we play out, and we love sharing this process. So if you have some ideas or anything, also drop those in the chat. We'll definitely be going back through reading it after the stream. We're always interested, to hear from all of our Novation fam and friends. So, all right, with that being said, Evan, let's hear that track.
All right, let's do it.
Take care, everyone. This is awesome.
yeah, that's the track.
Nice job, Evan,
Yeah.
aka DJ Roommate. All right, on that note, peace. Keep making music out there. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time.
Appreciate you guys. Take care.